Hey, hello, my friend. Welcome to another episode of Unlocking Excellence with your main man, it's Eric Schwafel. What's going on, y'all? I hope you're having a great day so far today. If you're here to get the keys to unlock excellence, then you are in the right place. That's what we're going to do today. So, y'all, I have the series going on where I'm just reading the stories of Aesop's Fables, right? If you haven't checked out a few of these, I would definitely encourage you to because they're pretty good. I mean, like you can learn from them. And one of the things that I really like about them is doing the stories in this format. It's quick, it's easy, and then you get your information, and then you can move on to your next podcast, and you can move forward into applying this stuff into your life, these lessons into life, right? The other thing that I like to do is think of different ways of how I can tell these stories, right? So I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and we were talking about consuming information. And man, I am a learning addict. I'm all about podcasts, guided meditations, hypnosis, reading, meditation, figuring out cold therapy, figuring out something new and then getting right in it. I like to think it's my my ADHD superpower of hyperfixation, right? When I can move from one subject to the next, and when I get really excited about something, then I can dive into it and I get all this, I can get all the information and understand it very, very quickly. So I'm going to be diving into that kind of stuff too on different podcasts, right? So I mentioned that because once I hear these types of stories, I like to bring them up to people, Now, I wouldn't say force them into conversation, but when you can tell the flattering story, which was the Aesop fable in the last episode, you can tell that to anybody. You can use these stories and you can spice them up a little bit and you can tell them to your kids, right? Like think about that. You can use this as a bedtime story or hey, little Johnny, did you hear the story about the wolf and the lamb? Or did you hear the story about the horse and the groom? And they're going to be like, what's the groom? And so it's a teaching moment and it's a learning opportunity for you, for your kids, for a spouse, for a loved one, if you're a coach and you have kids that you coach. Man, I tell these motivating stories to my clients all the time, where we get on and we just literally have a motivating story. And then from there, you get the lesson in it. And that's why they keep coming back, right? Is because they're being fed spiritually. So that's what I want to do for you here is I want to give you some, not only the keys to excellence, but some spiritual food, right? Some food, but some soul food. So let's go ahead and dive into this next one. I'm going to have two of the stories on here for you. We might even go three, but let's see how they go through and how you're feeling after these. Okay. So today we have number 11 and number 12. The wolf and the lamb is number 11. So let's start this off, right? A wolf came upon a lamb straying from the flock and felt some compunction about taking the life of a oh so helpless creature without some plausible excuse. So he cast about for a grievance and said at last year, Sarah, you grossly insulted me. That is impossible, sir, bleated the lamb, for I wasn't born then. Well, retorted the wolf, you feed in my pastures. That cannot be, replied the lamb, for I have never tasted yet grass. You drink from my spring then, continued the wolf. Indeed, sir, said the poor lamb. I have never yet drunk anything but my mother's milk. Well, anyhow, said the wolf, I'm not going without my dinner. And he sprang upon the lamb and devoured it without more ado. The moral of the lesson here is any excuse will serve a tyrant. Oh, my goodness. Y'all, how good and how well does this apply in today's political landscape, in today's political world? Matter of fact, today is August 9th, so you might be hearing this a little bit later. Today is August 9th, and I literally just saw that, what was it? They found out that Biden's family got something like $20 million from different people, and it was different family members. And then they decided to subpoena X, formerly known as Twitter. So because they would not give up Donald Trump's old tweets. I mean, I think that's hilarious. I think that's quite funny. And that's thoroughly what was said in this story, is that a tyrant will use any excuse to devour the lamb, to devour that which they want to eat. So always keep your eyes open, keep your head on the swivel, and stay in discernment. The next one, number 12. All right, y'all ready for this? Number 12. The peacock and the crane. The peacock and the crane. A peacock taunted a crane with the dullness of her plumage. Look at my bright colors, said she, and see how much finer they are than your poor feathers. I am not denying, replied the crane, that that yours are far gayer than mine. But when it comes to flying, I can soar into the clouds, whereas you are confined to the earth like any dunghill cock. Fine feathers don't make fine birds. Y'all remember, these are old stories. These are way back in the day. I'm gonna make an episode here so we can go into the history of Aesop so that you can find out who this was. And so when these were translated, different words for different times, right? Like gayer meant happier back then, or maybe it still does. And then like any dunghill cock, right? That referred to a rooster. That referred to a rooster. Or maybe it referred to a something else. So with that being said, let's go through that story one more time, just so you can hear it. A peacock taunted a crane with the dullness of her plumage. Look at these bright colors, said the peacock. See how much finer they are than your poor feathers? And the crane replied, I'm not denying that your feathers are far more beautiful, far gayer than mine. For when it comes to flying, I can soar into the clouds, whereas you are confined to the earth like any dunghill cock. Fine feathers don't make fine birds, right? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and remember how important utility is as well. Oh, so quick story before we get out of here. I once asked my martial arts master, why did you choose martial arts? Why did you want to do this thing instead of, say, exercising or whatever it might be? And what he ended up telling me, he said, well, because martial arts, there's a longevity aspect in it. He's seen guys all the way in their 70s and 80s and beyond still practicing, and whatever respect that person can practice in, right? He said there are very few injuries in martial arts, and in weightlifting, there are quite countless. You need more equipment in martial arts. And he wanted something where it wasn't going to be where he could be involved with people because he likes people. And so I'm hearing all this, and I'm saying, well, why didn't you want dancing? Because, dancing goes into that. Or why didn't you do some type of sport? And he said, well, because with this, there's utility. He says, because in sports and because in other modes of exercising, there might not be the self-defense and the the offensive, right? The offense and the defense component that lies in there, and then the lessons that come in with martial arts in particular. So I thought that very curious. I thought that very interesting, and I thought to share it with you too. So always remember the places where you hear your information, why you hear that information, and how you digest that information. All right, my friend, you're unstoppable. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.